Hello, my loves. I want to say welcome back, but it is, I guess, welcome to the new name. We have a new name. It was the High Ticket Coach podcast with Michelle Hext, and now it is FEMPIRE Builders with Michelle Hext. And it's been about a year since I created my last podcast. I just was going through a phase where I wanted to do less and less and less and focus on the things that were really high impact in my business. And there were just some things that were falling behind a little bit for me. And I felt like I was rushing things and that I was creating things out of that rushed kind of sense. And I was getting to the point where I was feeling like I wasn't doing anything particularly well. And so I decided to take a rest. Didn't exactly plan to take a year-long rest, but it is what it is. So today I want to talk to you about human design and what I've been learning about human design as a projector and what that has meant for my business and the changes that I have been making to my working day since I have started working with my human design coach. Human design came onto my radar quite a few years ago now. I would say, oh gosh, I can't even remember, but I remember I was coaching a client and I knew she worked in human design, but I didn't really understand what it was. And she loved it. I remember her being very excited about my chart, and I didn't really give it much thought because it was not really something that was spoken about. There wasn't a lot known about it, and I just didn't have the capacity for learning about, a whole other thing. And so I just kind of let it go. And then I remember doing a manifesting course in about 2020, I think it was, and human design was a component of it. And I learned a little bit in there and I thought, oh, that's very interesting, really interesting. And then the more I looked into me being a projector, a lot of things kind of made sense. Now, I am going to say that I'm not one of those people that buys into everything, right? So I'm an Aries, and there are very many Aries traits that I 100% agree with. And I think there are some Aries traits that were even more, front of place in my earlier years. Aries are known to be really angry and all that sort of stuff. And I remember slamming a lot of doors in my early years. I think I've just matured since then. But I'm definitely an Aries, right? But there are things that I reject as an Aries. And then, there are other things that we look at, right? Human design is just one of these things. So I started working with a human design and Gene Keys coach. And the reason that I started working with this coach, pardon me, is I was feeling really pulled towards working far less in my business. And if you've been on this podcast for, the last 111 episodes, you'll know that I go through these phases where it's like, I want to create a whole lot of space in my life. And then I get bored, I break things, and it's like I'm just looking for, a way to fill my time again. And earlier this year, I went through like a really huge healing journey. And it wasn't traumatic or anything like that. It was just healing some stuff from my childhood that, I've had an awareness around and have done work around for quite a few years. But this was really me not just intellectualizing, oh, I understand that the way that, I was raised in this sense would have an impact on this. And like I got it intellectually, but when it came to actually really sitting with the impact that my childhood had on me and on my adulthood, I kept kind of scooting over the top of it. And I remember just having this phase where I was launching a lot of different things. I was feeling very scattered and nothing was really working the way that I wanted it to because it couldn't. It was a bit like, it just like I wasn't grounded. I wasn't, grounded, I guess is the word. And I remember sitting at my desk ready to create something new. And it was like, hang on a minute. it's not going to matter what you create or how you create it or what price it is or how long it is or what you call it. None of that's going to make any difference until you go inward and you heal your shit. So I just sat at my desk and looked at the screen and went, you're right. Like, that's what I've got to do. Self to self. And so in my true style, I decided, you know what I'm going to do? This was, I don't know, maybe earlier in the week. And I knew my guy was going away for the weekend. So I just set the intention that, you know what, this weekend, I'm going deep. He was leaving, I think, Thursday morning. So it gave me like 4 days. It was so good. And I mean, hands up if you like it when your partner goes too. I love my man, but I love my space. So anyway, I had this time and space in front of me. And it's like, okay, how am I going to do this? And just intuitively, I was just guided towards these things. And one of the little voices that popped in my head was, remember when you had a prolapse disc when you were fighting and somebody put you onto the book, You Can Heal Your Body? I'm pretty sure there's a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think I've ever read that book. And so I went and downloaded the book. Now, I'm talking, I was 20, probably 26 when I read that book. I'm 55 now. So why the hell I would remember that, I don't know. But anyway, I'm like, okay, we're rolling with this. So I sat at my desk, I opened the book, I read it on my screen because my eyes are crap. So I had it on my computer, I had it open, big print, and I took myself through the book. I did the exercises and I spent the entire weekend just going deep, really healing stuff, going for walks, having a bit of a nap, doing some meditating, doing whatever I needed to complete the intention that I had set, which is to go really deep and to heal some really deep stuff without it being, you know, like traumatic. I knew it didn't need to be because I'd already done so much work, but I think I was just sick of my own bullshit. And I needed to go in and kind of figure out, like, okay, why are we operating like this right now? What the hell is going on? And so it was the best thing I ever did. And one of the things that I was able to see through that process was this. It was, okay, all of these years, you've been creating space, you hire a team, you set up your systems, you get it all working, and then you can't be in the space. Like you can't be comfortable with that much space. So we've got to fix that. And this was part of what I did on the weekend. And it's like, okay, so how do we fix this? And I just for the first time ever, I could see what my life would look like without sitting my ass at my desk for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Not because I needed to, mind you, but because I have this propensity to overwork and be like, I'm super productive. I'll come to that in a minute as a projector, super productive. But I was just wasting time and wasting my freaking life, really, if I think about it. And so for the first time, I could see what my life would look like on the other side of creating this space. And it wasn't scary anymore. It actually felt like something that I was being pulled towards. And I really locked it in. So I started journaling on it. I love to go for my walks and create voice notes to myself. Like I'm talking to a friend and I'm projecting into the future and like it's already done. So I love to create audios like that and listen back to them and things like that. So I really locked all of that in. And suddenly I could see, oh, okay, I could actually really enjoy this now. And so I think the other thing, I think I spoke about this last year, but in August last year, I was diagnosed with a form of leukemia called CLL, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is a blood cancer. It's very, very, very slow moving. I don't need treatment, but it makes me tired. And I had a bone marrow biopsy back on the 1st of October, and that came back my lymphocytes had started to escalate, which is an indicator of needing treatment. But after the bone marrow, the results came back that the lymphocytes had started to go down again, which is amazing. But my bone marrow is 50% packed, which is not ideal. We don't want any packing at all in the bone marrow. But for a while now, I'm going to be fine, not needing treatment. And the treatment isn't a huge deal anyway. But I do get tired more. And people can say that, as you get older, you get tireder and all those sorts of things, right? So it could be a combination of all those things. Anyway, come back full circle to talking about my human design coach. And one of the things that she spoke about is my type. So I'm a projector, I'm a 4/6, and she said we don't have the capacity for we don't have the same amount of energy that, say, generators and manifesting generators have, and so we can burn out. But she said because you have there are different types, and I'm an energetic something, energetic spleen something. I don't know. Like I when I get into the detail, I get a little bit kind of lost, but. Her point is I have more energy than most other projectors, but I still have a limited amount of energy. And my energy has come from grit, determination, and willpower, and just a discipline, right? I'm a very, very disciplined person. And what I came to see myself, and speaking with my coach, we kind of locked this in, is that I'm very potent. When I do less, I achieve so much more, and it's so potent that people really feel it in my messaging, whatever, right? My offers, all the things. And when I'm trying to do 100 different things, it's just I'm diluting myself. And so I decided like a few months ago now that I was going to change my working week, and I would only work 10 hours a week. And no, it's like 8 hours a week plus calls, group coaching calls, things like that. But as you know, I work in the high ticket space, so I never have a bunch of clients on board. I've only ever got 4 one-on-one clients at any given time and a group. And so I don't do a lot of actual work when it comes to contact hours. But I was wasting so much time. And so I decided, okay, so I'm going to allocate, it's like 2 hours a day, but it's about 4 days a week, and get stuff done in that time. And so what that's meant is normally I would have an idea for a program, and I would sit at my desk until everything was done. So the program was created, the sales page was done, all the automations were hooked up, the first messaging went out, I'd emailed my list. I can grind, and I kind of like it. But I do feel like I've been run over by a bus for days and days afterwards. And so it was very challenging. It's not so challenging anymore. But one of the things that I've been doing is setting a timer. I sit down, I do my 2 hours work. And if it's not finished, I can make a decision about, do I borrow some time from later in the week, or do I just walk away now and be patient with it and come back and complete it tomorrow? And I've been testing both those things, and just walking away is turning out to be the best strategy, and then getting back to it the next day. And so now I'm so stingy with my time. It's like and it's not because I don't want to work or don't want to be there for my clients. That has not changed. That will not change. But it's more about, okay, how can I be even more potent? And so the potency thing for me is well, if I send 10 emails, it's scattergun. If I send one email, but I really spend time on it and I really think about it and I really ground myself before I send that one email, it's going to be felt far more than 10 that I'm just rushing through. And so it's just changed the way that I do everything. And I had this little realization earlier in the week, I think it was, where it's I spend equal time on my fitness as I do in my business now. I've always spent 2 hours a day. If you count gym and then you count my walking, and like I've always got some sort of freaking physio to do, plus, a bit of meditation, journaling, that sort of stuff, right? And it's like, well, I now spend more time on me, or equal time on me, that I do with my business. So one of the things that I uncovered, and this is maybe something to consider, it might be wildly off base, but just hear me out. I realized that I had a codependent relationship with my business because I felt like I needed the business to make me whole. I needed to throw myself into my work to feel valuable, to feel required, needed, things like that. Also, it's a distraction, right? And I realized I don't want to have that relationship with my business. I want to be me. And my business is one of the many things that makes me who I am. And that feels so liberating and freeing. And it's been why I've been able to step away and, instead of like give my life to this thing, step back and do less, but also do it in a really contained kind of way, in that, I don't wake up and roll out of bed, or open my laptop at, 5:00 in the morning and then, roll out and sit at my desk and start working. It's far more intentional than that. And so the human design thing has just come at a really good time, because this is me leaning into my design. My design is that we are the seers of the way. So if one of the things about projectors is we come into our own in our 50s, and it's like we go through this phase where it's trial and error. And then we go through another phase and we arrive in our 50s with all of this experience. And one of the traits that we have is that we have to learn everything the hard way. And that's me. I can't learn it unless it's the hard way, although that's changing now. But that's definitely how I've learned all of my lessons. And I've always leaned into the fact that I have a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom. And I save my clients a lot of time, because I have been down rabbit holes that just lead to nowhere. And I can say to my client, well, I can recognize it in my clients, but I can also say, as a strategy, like, let's just talk about like why you think you need this. And there's always a simpler way. There's always an easier way, is my mantra, a more direct way. And my human design, like, that is me in a nutshell. I am the person that is the seer of, I see things that other people can't see. My role here on, as me, is to help people find the way, like find their way to do the thing, to achieve the thing. And it's so grounding for me to know that, I have freaking learned the hard way, all the things, like in all areas of my life, right? And it's like, and I'm taking it for the team, because I've learned lifetimes of lessons in one lifetime, because I go hard with my learning of the lessons. And I always believe there's a reason for these things. And the reason is that I get to share that. I get to use this experience and everything that I've gained over the years to help my clients see things that they can't see. And it's so perfectly in keeping. And one of the things that I've said so often over the years is, put me to work. Put me to work. So when I'm in a group environment where I'm leading a group, it's like, okay, put me to work. I love solving problems. I'm a very good problem solver. And I recently redid my IQ, and the average IQ in America and Australia is about between 98 and 99 or something. My IQ is 138. I've always known I've had a high IQ, and so my human design plus my age plus my intelligence means that I see solutions to problems usually before people have finished their sentence. I just see things. Cue the scary, I see people noise in the background. But I've always known this about myself. it's just a very, it's just who I am. It's my DNA. It's who I am. And it's what makes me such a powerful person in this space. You know, I am a strategist. I am a problem solver. I am experienced. All those things. And I love that I get to use all of that in a really powerful way in the work that I do, which is so cool. All right. So what do I want you to take away? I want you to take away, I guess, the less is more thing, and imagine how potent you would be if you did less. Now, obviously, you've got to lean into this, right? Some people are really energized by being more. I thought that was me. But, you know, as life has progressed and all the rest of it, I'm finding now that less is more. I'm finding so much evidence that less is more. My email open rates and click rates are going through the roof and better than they've ever been. And I don't really feel like I'm doing anything different. I'm just being more intentional. And so I want you to think about that. How much of the work that you're doing is to appease your anxiety, like you feel like you've got to be doing something, or, you know, the world's going to fall apart, because that's a trauma response. That was what my healing journey was. I had this realization that I'm living my whole entire fucking life as a trauma response. I thought it was just my personality to be a hustler and a grinder and highly strung and all those sorts of things. But it's like, no, babe, that is a trauma response. And it's like, okay, I don't want to live like that anymore. It didn't feel bad. But for the first time, I was ready to start to think about, you know, could it be better if it was different? And so, you know, I'm in it. I'm not on the other side of it. It's definitely a journey for sure. But I want you to really explore your working habits and, you know, even deeper than that, the way that you're living your life. And ask yourself, how much of this is a trauma response? Because we've all got trauma, right? How much of this feels good and serves me? And how much of this is just me operating from learned behavior? And just start to make some different decisions. You know, one of the ways that you can do that is just to write a list of everything you do over the course of a couple of days, right, in your business, and just write everything down and then go back and have a look. And it's like, why am I doing this thing? And does it feel good? And is it aligned? And just go through everything on that checklist and make some decisions about the things that you're doing just for the sake of doing them, or doing them because that's how you've been doing it, or doing it because somebody told you that that was a really good way to do it. You know, I remember there was a coach that I worked with and followed for many years ago, and she was known for the hustle, like full on all the time, more content, more content, more content, more offers, more offers, more offers. And I was like, oh, I love this. I was like, yeah, this is how I want to do it too. Because it fed into so much of what felt like my personality, but going through like this healing process and seeing how much of that is trauma response, it was like, yeah, and it was great and I loved it and it was good. But it's also not really how, if I think about my future self, you know, she's a little bit more like Zen than that. She's a little bit more, what's the word? Definitely more grounded, all those sorts of things, leaning into her, you know, the legacy type of things and being more, I don't know, what's the high-end department store, like Neiman Marcus of the internet and messaging world, instead of like the $2 shop. Because I don't know, I think as I grow older and I see my worth more and more and more, I want to honor that. I think that is where I'm going with this. I really want to honor that instead of, like being distracted and overlooking it, I think, is more than anything else. So anyway, I said I was done, and here we go, a whole other tangent, right? But just to have a look at your working habits, create the list and ask yourself, how much of this do I want to keep? If I were to wake up tomorrow, or choose right now, moving forward, what do I want to keep and what do I want to get rid of? What does that look like? How is my business going to look? How am I going to look operating in this way? And when you do that, it's going to make you feel light. It made me feel light. It made me really, obviously I went through a bit of a phase of like, I've wasted so much time and why did I do all those things? Like, there's definitely a little bit of regret, but not really, because everything that we do, don't do, all those sorts of things brings us here, right? And here is the only moment that we have. This is the only moment that matters. The past only exists in our mind. If we lost our memory, we wouldn't even know we had a past, right? The future hasn't happened yet. We can create anything we want. The only moment we have is right now. And so I want you to really muster this idea of, if I'm starting from right now, what do I want to keep? What do I want it to look like going forward? And make decisions that really feel good and support you. Anyway, that is it. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of things that I have launched that I can talk about. So the first thing is FEMPIRE Builders, which is my school. So it's a community, it's an online community, but it's not community focused. Now, I know that school is community focused and you're supposed to like get on the leaderboard and you're supposed to, create a community that's got a lot of engagement. I'm not really about that. I'm more about, I want to create really amazing resources. I want a home for all of my past programs and content. I want a home for it all in one place. And it's like Netflix. You can go in there and you can binge on branding. You can go in there and learn Facebook ads. You can go and learn how to create a lead magnet. There's a lot of resources in there that are super amazing. So I've just dropped the 2025 Success Planning Bootcamp. So you can go in there. I'm going to walk you through. There's a workbook as well, walks you through the entire strategic planning for your next year, whatever 12-month block. You might be listening to this like, I don't know, August next year or something. It works in 12-month blocks. And you're going to develop exactly what you want your business to look like, what you want your life to look like. That we're going to figure out what are you launching and how are you going to launch it, things like that. So FEMPIRE Builders at the time of recording is $27 a month, but there's a 1-week free trial. So you go to school.com, FEMPIRE, FEMPIRE, and that will take you there and you can get yourself signed up for the free trial. I'm sure you're going to want to stay. I'm doing 1 live call a month at the moment, and it's not designed to be somewhere where you've got to go and hang out with people and be social. It's more about going in there to go through courses and workshops that you want to go through to plug gaps in your knowledge without being interrupted by the constant pings that happen on Facebook, for example, right? I used to do a lot of stuff in Facebook groups, and this just feels really nice. So I would love you to come on over and join FEMPIRE. It looks fucking amazing, I've got to say. And it's been such an amazing thing to go through my Vimeo and go back and have a look at a lot of the different things that I've created that I just kind of forgot about or ignored. And even the back end of my member website, there's a lot of programs in there that I created that are just gathering dust, but they were so amazing. There was one I called Successful as Fuck. And I loved that program, but it kind of, I went off the boil of it. It was kind of a one and done program for me, but it was so good. And so I'm adding these different programs in there. And so every month you'll open up new ones. And there are also some courses in there that you can purchase just because they're too valuable to include in a $27 membership, but there's plenty there to keep you going. So FEMPIRE, come and join me there if you want to do that. I'm also enrolling for my S.H.E Mastermind, Scaled High Ticket Empire Mastermind 2.0. So if you've been in my world for a while, you'll know that I've been running high ticket masterminds for well over a decade now. They're my jam. And I have learned so much over the last 12 months with creating micro offers and really delved into learning a lot more about ads. I've been doing my own ads for a long time now. And, after wasting more frickin' money on agencies that didn't deliver, I just waved the white flag, learned how to do ads, simplified the process, and I teach it inside of FEMPIRE. But I'm also using this within my mastermind as well. We just don't want to have to rely on organic traffic to grow our businesses these days, because Meta is essentially unless you pay to play, your stuff is not being seen. You will know this, right? You will have felt this, unless you already have like a massive following. And so, we're using paid strategy a lot more, and it's really effective. I've got people that are running their ads for nothing, and they're making a little bit of money on their ads, but they're also making profit on their upsells and things like that. So I'm teaching all of that in there. There's definitely training on that inside of FEMPIRE Builders as well, but obviously with a mastermind, there's a lot more support in it, and I'm teaching it, for you and your specific business and what it is that you need, rather than just like a framework. So S.H.E Mastermind is enrolling as well. There is an early bird running at the moment. So I'm going to drop both of those links in the show notes. But if you go to michellehext.com, the mastermind is on the homepage, so you can't miss it. And I would love to have you in either of those communities. FEMPIRE Builders, I've created it just to be like a no-brainer yes, and just like your Netflix subscription, but I don't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of crap, right? Like, it's all good quality content in there. S.H.E Mastermind, we work together for an entire year. If you come on board now, though, we're the middle of November, you get an extra 2 months with me, and we will work together one-on-one in that time. So that you can really make the most of the 12 months when the ball starts rolling in January. So either of those, I would love to have you in either of those containers. It would just make me feel so happy to help you to achieve a level of success in your business that you won't be able to achieve on your own. My mastermind is 12 months long because we need that time. We definitely need that time, because we're launching high ticket offers. Then we're moving to the leverage phase, which is where you launch your high ticket mastermind or group offer. And then we move into the scale version of whatever it is that we create. It takes time. It takes, a little bit of testing, and left to your own devices, a lot of people will abort mission, abandon ship, and stop trying because they get a bit freaked out when things aren't working. But when you've got someone like me in your back pocket, it's like, okay, cool, we're going to try this now. We're going to do it like this. And we don't stop. We just keep moving until we achieve the result that we want. And, that can be challenging to do on your own. People can. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just nicer, right, to have somebody with a lot of experience and wisdom and a strategy brain to be able to help guide you through that process, so that it's just a lot easier. All right, that has been a long one for the first one back in a year. I guess I had a lot to say. Anyway, that is it. I will see you next week. Take care. I don't know what day. Let's say Wednesdays, Australian time, but it might change. I might even do like more than one a week. I'm not writing any rules around it. Podcasting is my favorite way to get information out there, so I don't want to restrict myself. So just make sure you've got your notifications on, because, could be tomorrow. Who the hell knows? All right, take care. Love you, and I will see you next time.